like having the tomato or the brinjal talk to the consumer directly to some extent, right? So that's pretty much what I had, and I'll wrap up and happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Shameek. Thank you for the very interesting presentation. What did Shameek tell us is he talked about linking growers with markets by using ICT, information and communication technology, which is becoming increasingly critical. At this point of time, I suddenly discovered that our session coordinator, Dr. Vijay Makhija, is he here by any chance? Or I handle it myself. Fine, perfect. I'm okay. No, we'll do that. But before I open up the floor for discussion, I have a few comments to make. I'm going to go there to make this. It's like this. We heard about challenges related to technology. Where was I? I think a couple of years ago I was in Bangalore addressing the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce on the challenges of the food industry at the moment. Very clearly, I believe at this point of time, there is a war between the old ecosystem and the new ecosystem. The old ecosystem consists of a certain regulatory framework, certain HR policies, certain financing opportunities, etc., etc. And now we have an emerging new ecosystem which looks at familiar things from unfamiliar angles. And there is increasing use of technology, increasing use of technology, and therefore companies, particularly those in food business, will have to actually rethink their HR policies, for example, their vendor relations policies, for instance. They need to look at newer financing options. They also cannot ignore the regulatory framework, whether the regulatory framework is supportive of the new ecosystem. And therefore, because compliance is extremely important, therefore, I believe the old ecosystem and the new ecosystem are at the moment at war. There is a friction, and I'm quite certain that even if there are issues with the regulatory system, this will change, and the new ecosystem will certainly win over a period of time. That's important. And secondly, what is also important is creative destruction. Extremely important point is that if you are not the disruptor, you will become the disrupted. And therefore companies have to constantly think about innovation. And that innovation, as I said earlier, is that urge. It has to come out of a constant urge to improve product and process efficiencies. I think 24/7 people have to be thinking about how to improve efficiencies, and that is what is going to give people innovative ideas for improving the efficiencies. And as again, let me say, if you are not the disruptor, you are going to be disrupted, because somebody is going to become the disruptor. One important point which I didn't mention in the beginning, which I must mention now at this point of time, is, and which is a great opportunity for this industry over the next 15-20 years in my view, is the great nutrition challenge that this country is facing. Our nutrition status is poor. There are stark interstate variations. There is pervasive malnutrition and undernutrition across India, particularly in rural areas. I'm not sure how many of you actually go through the National Family Health Survey. The numbers are absolutely stark and stunning and actually alarming. And therefore we need to improve the nutrition status. And continuing undernutrition, perpetual undernutrition actually raises the healthcare costs, lowers productive efficiencies, and increases morbidity. I think these are issues very real for this country. And we have pervasive undernutrition, and one of the big challenges is how do we increase protein intake of people. We need to improve the protein intake of people. We need to improve calorie intake and protein intake. Calorie intake is supported by, for example, welfare programs such as the public distribution system or the midday meal scheme or the ICDS programs, etc. But where are we from a protein security perspective, protein intake? The per capita consumption of protein over the last 30 years has actually declined in India. And there's a great need for us to increase protein intake. And this sector can play a very significant role in improving the protein intake. You have animal protein, you have vegetable protein. And there is no reason why people should not consume more of animal protein, and there's no reason why people should go in more of vegetable protein. But at the moment, let me mention, vegetable protein is lot more economical, lot cheaper, lot less expensive than animal protein. I have a table, I haven't prepared a formal presentation, but I've done an exercise to demonstrate that milk has the most expensive protein, followed by poultry and eggs, and then you have meat, and then you have vegetable protein like soybean and peanut and pulses. Pulses are the most economical vegetable protein. And that brings us to this question of what should this industry be constantly thinking about, given the poor nutrition status of a very large number of Indians, the bottom 30 or 40% of the population, close to 400 or even 500 million people, they need more protein. Can this industry service that part of the population? At the moment, this industry is very happy servicing the top 30% of the population, which consumes these products, poultry meat, for example. But the challenge is to come up with products which are very highly economical, which are affordable to the bottom 30 or 40% of the population, and that's a big challenge. Number one. Number two, I have maintained for long years that it's a myth. It's a myth that 70 or 75% of India's population are vegetarian by choice. No. 70 to 75% of the population of India became vegetarian over the last century, 60, 70, 80 years, several decades, by compulsion. There were serious problems with accessibility to meat, problems with affordability of meat. Now, over the last 5, 10, 15 years, with rising GDP, increasing incomes, and improving access to poultry meat, for example, increasing affordability of people, I have reason to believe as much as 70 or 75% of the population can and will eat meat and is open to eating meat. And that will call for a massive campaign to leverage that latent demand which is actually lying here in this country. And therefore that's the biggest challenge. But the challenge is also to be able to produce meat at the lowest possible cost that is affordable for the bottom 400 or 500 million people in the Indian population who are actually financially challenged. So think about it, how best you would reduce your production costs and make meat, animal protein a lot more economical for a very large number of people that are truly in need of protein in this country. I think with these observations, I'm going to open the floor for a discussion but only after I say that good luck and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
There's a question here from the gentleman.
Thank you very much. I am Dr. Pathak. So far, we have wonderful sessions this morning, and at the end of the session, I have some few points basically. How our consumers are educated. First of all, let me ask anybody here, what is the requirement of protein per person per day? It's a very simple question. How many people know it? The second fact is that when we talk about table eggs, how many of us know how the table eggs are produced? So unless we have a basic education system to the consumer, all what we talked about, the food safety, protein and all these things, is of really very limited use. Now when we talk about the protein content, now just now you are referring to that, our vegetable proteins are much cheaper than animal protein. I definitely differ with that, because the animal proteins are much balanced as far as amino acids are concerned compared to the other proteins. So don't compare one protein with other protein just based on how much protein content is there. So unless this education is there, everything is going to be waste.